Hi, and welcome back to Sherburne Public Library's Book Talk. Today we are talking about poetry and poets. And since it's National Poetry Month, that seemed appropriate. So that's what we're doing. And I wanted to welcome Donna Morin with us this week. Again, she's been with us a few times. She's a local teacher, an English teacher, and a friend of mine and a friend of the library's, and we're very happy to have her with us. And I have Justine, who is one of our student pages, with us too. And I'm Colleen, the library manager. So here we go. Justine, I think I'm going to have you go first.
All right. So the book that I picked is Good Morning, Good Night by Lin-Manuel Miranda, who, if you don't know who that is, he wrote and starred in the Broadway musical version of Hamilton. So this book kind of started before his Hamilton days, when he was very active on Twitter. He would post little morning and night affirmations for his followers, just to kind of remind them that they were worthy of being cheered up, I guess. And so he decided to take some of his best ones, his most inspiring ones, and put them into a book. And he collaborated with Johnny Sun, who illustrated it. And just the illustrations are just really cute. And they're very simple, which is nice. And on each page, there is a morning affirmation and a night affirmation, and they kind of go together. And I just like this book because it's just a nice little mood booster. You know, like, this is a book that you could have on your nightstand. You pick it up, you read one of the very short poems, and you feel good. And I think it also is a good reminder that poetry doesn't have to be stereotypical. Like, it doesn't have to rhyme, it doesn't have to be long, it can be whatever you want it to be. And I really like that style in this book, and I think it's just a really good book to have when you're in need of a positive message. So yeah, it's really good. It's cute.
Do you have like a favorite one in it that you want to read or something?
I do. It will take me a minute to find it, but I think
okay.
I took a picture of it once on my phone. I wanted to remember it. So I have this picture of it. I don't know what page it's on, but it just says, "Good morning, you magnificent slice of perfection." Yeah, you. And it has a little cake drawing. I don't know if you can see it. But I just think, I saw that and I thought it was funny. Like, oh yeah, you know what? I am a slice of perfection. Thank you, Lin-Manuel Miranda. So I guess I would say that one kind of stuck with me if I took a picture of it. And this was from a couple of years ago that I took that picture from the book. So I guess I would say that one.
Isn't it amazing how, like, just a few words like that can, you know, like you said, brighten your day or make an impact on you. And I think that's, to me, that's the beauty of a good poet, is their ability to just take a few words that you would never think about putting together for some reason, and they just make you feel something. So that's really awesome.
I love how Lin-Manuel Miranda wrote multiple musicals.
Right.
They're so in depth and they're amazing. And many of the poems in this book are just one or two lines, and they still have the same sort of impact, but in a different way that his lengthy musicals can have. You know, I think that's really interesting.
That is. That's awesome. Well, I love Lin-Manuel. I mean, who doesn't love him? I mean,
right.
Maybe some people, but I don't know. I think you're crazy if you don't. Yeah. Well, that's great. I need to read that. I don't think I've ever actually sat down and looked at it. I saw that when we got it at the library. That one is available at our library also.
Yep.
But I don't think I ever actually took it out and read it. I need to do that. So thank you.
Yeah. Oh, of course.
So Donna, let's hear what you got. Who's your poet?
Well, I'm gonna get kind of teachery because that's what I do. I chose Shakespeare. I chose a sonnet from Shakespeare specifically to read because when you think of Shakespeare, you think of King Lear and tragedy and that sort of thing. And if you've read any of his comedies, they're in verse, but they're also in blank verse. He uses different types of verse within the plays to tell us what kind of character we're dealing with. Are we common? Are we nobility? If you read King Lear, it's all rhymed until you get to a soldier, and that's usually in blank verse, which indicates a different part of society. And so there are several different sonnet forms. Petrarch wrote his sonnet form, and then Shakespeare has his format. And if you've talked about any sonnets in school ever, you know that his format is A B C D C D E F and a rhymed couplet G G. So there's a very specific number of lines, a specific number of rhymes, and a format that is always followed. So everyone thinks, oh, Shakespeare sonnets, they're so boring. And in fact, maybe part of this is because I just love the language, but I picked out a funny one. It's kind of amusing. No one believes me when I say he wrote funny sonnets. So I'm going to read you the funny one because, in fact, this is sonnet number 130, My Mistress' Eyes. Many people read it along with several of his other love sonnets. So technically, this is in his love sonnet period, although we're not sure to whom. So, sonnet 130. My mistress' eyes are nothing like the sun. Coral is far more red than her lips red. If snow be white, why then her breasts are dun. If hairs be wires, black wires grow on her head. I've seen roses damasked red and white, but no such roses see I in her cheeks. And in some perfumes there is more delight than in the breath that from my mistress reeks. I love to hear her speak, yet well I know that music hath a far more pleasing sound. I grant I never saw a goddess go. My mistress, when she walks, treads on the ground. And yet by heaven I think my love as rare as any she belied with false compare. That's just hysterical to me.
That's great.
Wires growing out of her head. This is not a beautiful woman at all. And yet it is a love sonnet. He ends with the rhymed couplet that says, yeah, I love her. I love her a lot. So there's that and it's partly satirical. Some critics believe that he's also making fun of love sonnets.
That
Which
could be.
kind of is. You can see that in his, and when he says belie, false compare, he's saying that love sonnets are not always true. You want to make something as beautiful as possible, and yet this woman is not. He's very much in love. We're also not sure who he's writing that to, or if it was just a satire. But I use it in my classes all the time because as soon as I say sonnet, their eyes roll back in their head, and I say, no, wait. It'll be okay.
Wait for it. That one's really funny. I don't know if I've read that one before or not. I must have heard it.
You probably have, but it's not like
Yeah.
the comparison ones that you see all the time. The truly love sonnets.
What number sonnet is that? Do you know?
This is 130.
Okay. I was thinking back to last year when Patrick Stewart was reading a sonnet a day on Facebook, and I loved that because, of course, I could listen to Patrick Stewart read the, phone book or something.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to, and there were so many, and I don't know if I got through all of them, or I don't know if he even did, but
he did get through all of them, but I'm not sure. I did not watch all of them.
I didn't either. I did for a while.
There's a couple of my favorites that I missed because I wasn't paying attention.
Yeah.
He did finally read the last one and closed the book and said, and here we are.
Oh.
But yeah.
But
They're
yeah, I
starting
love
to
that.
come up in my memory, Facebook memories too.
Yes, yes, mine too. So I've been sharing some of them because it was so wonderful. I love that he did that. Oh, that's great. Well, Shakespeare is certainly a famous poet.
Oh, this
But
guy made up words
yeah, right.
that are still in the dictionary.
I know. And I love Shakespeare, so I don't mind if, my eyes don't roll back too much when somebody says Shakespeare.
Usually by the time I get done with this sonnet and picking it apart, they're like, oh, that wasn't so bad. Yeah, so here's Romeo and Juliet. There you
That's great. I love it. So we've had two famous poets, Lin-Manuel and Shakespeare. I have a friend, his name is Jay Long, who is a poet. He lives in upstate New York. Well, actually, we would call it downstate New
We call
York.
it downstate.
He lives in the Hudson Valley. And he's written a couple books on poetry that I enjoy. And, I follow him on Facebook. I've kind of become friends with him. So most of his poems I find, I was talking about where you take a few words and make them, somehow putting them together makes it kind of magic or whatever. Most of his poems, I would say, are more love poems in a lot of ways. But they're really beautiful, I think. There's some really pretty words that he puts together. I was going to try and find the ones that I really like, if I can. He's written two books, Timeless Chatter, Between the Heart and Mind, and Eternal Echoes. So these are both in our library if you're interested in checking them out. So there's one called Whiskey Veins, which I think is kind of cool. It just says, there's whiskey in her veins, and each new day is like my happy hour. I raise my glass to the man I am with her. The sound of her voice leaves me drunk with passion, and I cannot wait for the next sip. I don't know. I just love that.
I love that. Yeah.
It's like you want someone to say that to you. I mean, what a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
And I find a lot of his poems are like that. It's like, oh, would someone just say that to me? That's so beautiful.
Here, just read me this right here.
yeah. Just keep saying that to me in my ear. But a lot of his are like that. He has, and a lot of them are pretty short. There's not a lot of really long poems. They're mostly short. He has this little one. He has this saying, "Find your tribe." Everyone knows what that means, and it's probably used everywhere. But it's when we truly realize we are not alone is when we need others the most. We cannot always fight the world ourselves. Find your tribe and let them in. I just think that's really cool. So true. So yeah. And so the whole story on Jay is when he was in high school, I think he got inspired by a famous poem by Robert Frost. Yes. So like, I guess it was a college course. He was in a creative writing class, and they were studying The Road Not Taken, which is famous, I think, for most poetry classes. And it just inspired him. And that's why he's always enjoyed writing, apparently. And but that just kind of set him on the path to this is what I want to do. So he actually wrote a screenplay. I don't think it's been published or produced, but he did that originally, and then he started writing poetry, and he's been doing it. I don't know. It's probably close to. It's got to be at least 10 years. He's been doing it or more, off and on in his life. But anyway, so it's I recommend them. They're kind of beautiful words put together. That's what I enjoy about poetry is, taking just a few words that you wouldn't necessarily think of together and putting them that way. And the juxtaposition of words just makes it, magical somehow. And I think that I also think, and I'm sure you all will agree with me, that poetry is kind of a personal thing. You don't, not everybody's going to love Robert Frost, The Road Not Taken. They may not be inspired by it, for example, but just some other person says something in a certain way will make that work for them. So I encourage people to look for the poet that speaks to them,
And there are humorous poets, there are satire poets. If you look at there are also and I have this book at school and I meant to bring it home, but it's called Against Forgetting. It's all, and it will tear your heart out because it's all Holocaust survivors, refugees, Cambodia, the Phnom Penh, and all of those things. And the poets themselves, it's an anthology, agree that there are things we should not forget. And you don't need an essay or a book to do that. It can be as simple as I wish I'd brought it home. There's a lovely 4-line heart ripper about his mother and Auschwitz. 4 lines. That's it.
Oh man.
That's it. And it's hard, but it's the thing about poetry is, and you're talking about the magic of words, if you can write it in a paragraph, you can write it as a poem. You take out all the excess to all of the words that you don't need, and what you're left with is a poem. Maya Angelou used to talk about writing poetry that way. I'd write it down and I'd take out all the extra.
That's right. That's cool. I've never thought of that.
It's really a neat way to teach writing poetry too, because I do it in class. I'll make them write a paragraph about something that's important to them, and that can be as easy as baseball. And then take out and rearrange the lines and take out the extra words, and that's a poem.
That's a great way to teach it because that makes it accessible for everyone. Exactly. I think.
I also do it with song lyrics. Song lyrics are poetry.
Yeah.
Often free verse, but poetry.
Yeah, it's true. Very true.
You can find poetry almost anywhere.
Absolutely. And there's so many different kinds of poetry that when you're talking about taking out words, it reminds you of that blackout poetry where you take a paragraph or whatever and just black out everything except the words that you want to use as your
exactly what that is. I had a kid bring in a roadmap and write me a poem about his summer. It was literally, and it was a real roadmap too. It wasn't Google Maps or anything. It was like on paper. And he pulled out all the different places and one word that went with them. And that was his poem. And that was a while ago now, but.
What a great idea.
He stunned me. I said, I need to start doing this. And he's like, okay.
Yeah. Wow. What a good way to sum up your vacation, and make it.
I don't usually ask, so what did you do this summer? Because for so many people, it's not great.
Right.
Or it was just one thing. But he had decided he wanted to do that. Okay, we'll give it a shot.
What a cool thing.
Really cool.
Wow.
So yeah, look for poetry everywhere. That's
obviously poetry is everywhere. It's even in a roadmap. So who would have thought that? Oh, well, this is great. So I think this is a nice little homage to poetry for Poetry Month. So I encourage you all to come check out the library. We have, of course, many poets and poetry books. And the ones we mentioned, I'm sure we have the sonnets, and I know we have Lin-Manuel's, and we have J. Long's. So, and what was the name of the book, Donna, that you said you wished you had brought? The Holocaust Survivor.
Against Forgetting.
Against Forgetting.
It's an anthology.
I wonder if we have that or if it's available in our system. I'll have to check, but
sounds like it.
Yeah.
Something or other.
Yeah. So, well, thank you all for listening, and we will see you in a couple weeks because we're doing only every other week now. We will be doing new DIY, I believe, cookbooks or something like that. So look forward to that. And thanks for listening, and we'll see you at the library.